You know what happens when you give an Italian a microphone at a wedding? They sing, right? They sing. I mean, you're an Italian, right? Little name there. Hi, my name is Joe DeFeo. I'm currently part of ComplianceQuest, but for 37 years prior to this last year, I was not. And I'll tell you how I got here. I really listened to all this AI talk and all the technology, and if you walk around the exhibition hall there, you're amazed at how fast billboards could have AI on them and how fast all the documents could have AI on them. And yet, how many of us still think it's not happening? But when you come here and you start to see the products and the people and talk, feel good about it? No, you're still worried about it, aren't you? So I wasn't really sure. Someone picked the title and promoted it before I knew it, so I'm going to do my best to kind of make it useful today. I have three main themes, and these three main themes are part of the presentation. You heard a couple of really good discussions about connectivity and AI and digital. So I represent an organization that makes a digital quality management system, which links product life cycle in some form or fashion, depending on how you define that, all the way through. And so one is the future's here today because it actually works. It's there. Also, the whole concept of compliance as a non-value added activity, it seems to be all over LinkedIn. If you want to have a good discussion about something, just read the LinkedIn's compliance doesn't pay. It's quality management's not compliance. It's more than that. They're all true, but the reality is if you don't comply, what happens? All of a sudden, it's pretty strategic, right? If you don't comply with regulatory requirements, it's pretty strategic. Or if you don't comply with customers, it's pretty strategic. It affects you. So we believe, and we try to do this, is that if we can make it cost less compliance, which is a lot of the technology helps you do, and it happens, almost automatically, then people will do it because, compliance gets done and your customers are happy. And the third part about that is obviously how organizations in this kind of solution is leveraging the intelligence that it's out there and capable. And I thought it was interesting. Your last comment, I think you brought it up that you had asked GPT a question and it came up different answers, or you weren't protected within your company. So recently, you can make personal GPTs, right? So they took all the publications that I worked on over the years at the Duran Institute. Dr. Duran was one of the first. Came out a long time ago, lived to be 103 years old. He founded the Duran Institute, quality management consulting company many years ago, and I got the chance of working there and learning there. And what we wanted to do, that Duran handbook there is about 1,200 pages, and not too many people could read 1,200 pages. So we took all the books and all the products, we created our own ChatGPT. The first pass, I noticed I asked it questions that would not have come out of those books, no matter what you asked it. So I said, there's something wrong. We found that it had leakage, right? It was going outside the confines of the GPT. But we ended up getting it narrowed to the GPT. I only wanted to be able to ask questions related to those books to protect it. And I thought that was a good thing to do so that when people say, ask Duran a question, it's going to come out of the books. Or pull together a, audit checklist, it'll come out of there. And I knew it wasn't right the first time when I asked it a question. I knew it was in that book and they couldn't find it, but they found it somewhere else. I said, it's leakage. So one thing is for sure, you could protect your data by how you set up that information. So my little history here, I've gotten old pretty quick being in the field. I've worked in a lot of different companies over the years, different industries. I got to go to 45 different countries. And all the results of the work we do kind of goes into books like that. The one that pertains most to the life sciences that a number of years ago, I spoke at a FDA conference, and the subject was, how can pharma be a best practice in quality? And what other industries are out there that are a best practice, and what can we learn from them? It was if you remember Janet Woodcock, it was that era. And I brought in automotive and aerospace as the examples. And at that time, they were both doing really well after really crappy starts in the 80s and 90s. And as a result of that effort that went on, somehow the FDA coined the term quality by design and stole it from Dr. Duran. And you can go on the website, Wikipedia, and you'll see that FDA always uses it, and we're okay with that. The problem is most people don't know what it means. But it was a way to develop products that were focused on the voice of the customer, not just the voice of science. So that if you designed a good drug, a good medication, that you took into account not just the efficacy of that drug or medication, but the whole stakeholder chain. Did we design it so we can produce it easily? Did we design it so we can ship it easily? Did we design it so that the doctors will want to buy it? So it expands your whole concept of who you're designing for. That's what quality by design meant. Now, if you look at all the different papers on quality by design, you might find variations of that. But I spent a good career helping organizations design good products that way. And why do I bring that up? Because you got to get beyond the words and understand what things mean. So here's how I like more pictures. I taught industrial arts, which is wood shop, electronics to high school students. And you got to keep them busy. So I take it that you like to be busy too. This is what we typically look like in organizations, a bunch of interconnected processes, right? And if you actually connected them all, it would be pretty massive. Another way to look at it is like this. This is how we've kind of evolved over time. We have all these different databases. We have all these different interconnections. I love the phones here from this graphic, which AI did. Do you remember phones like that, anybody? It's kind of like the first cell phone I had in my car. But it's kind of a messy situation. But it's effective, right? Most of you are getting your products out the door. Most of them are meeting customer requirements. Most of them are meeting FDA. It's effective, but not efficient. And when something's not efficient, it gets the enterprise leadership involved. And so they say, you got to make it more efficient. There's a couple ways to do that. Go implement a PLM, digital PLM. Go do a digital quality management. Go do a health and environmental. Or we need a digital transformation. And what we're seeing in businesses, they're all of the above. And what we're trying to do is design a solution that over time can build a complete system. Unfortunately, as we're going to find, it's not there yet. How many of you heard of the front office, which is all the CRM stuff, and the back office, kind of your SAP, right? What's in the middle? Magic? That's a positive word. How about the crap? There you go. The confusion. Give me another word. What's that? Chaos. Here, have something pretty. It's where everything else happens, right? It's the stuff that hasn't been technologically designed for us yet. If you're in a production facility or in a manufacturing, they're doing a lot of good work with MES historically, but that's kind of data collection. If you see a company like Tulip around here, sensor adaptation, so they take the data, the sensor, you can spit it out to a computer so you can see it, but also spits it back to the equipment to maintain it, keep it going, and keep producing it. There's that stuff going on, but in general, kind of been a neglected middle, and it's kind of very messy. How many of you ever had to participate in a FDA audit? How much prep time to get the information you need ready for FDA audit? Just a couple hours? I don't mean a spot check. I mean to do how about a management review of your system? Yeah. Month, that's good. That's more fair. I like that. You know why? Because it consumes a lot of time. So the reality is that messy middle has a lot of unnecessary effort to create some output from it, even though we have dashboards. One reason is the data's sitting everywhere. It's not in one spot. And so what we end up, we have all this siloed data. We have no single source of truth, so it's not easy to collect it. And then when you collect it, people fight it and debate it anyway because they don't believe it. You got some operational challenges that, if we have quality and safety issues and they're not handled properly in CAPA or whatever, we have poor records, and a poor record means we have a poor dashboard. If we have a poor dashboard, who wants to brag about that? And of course, on the business side, you're always hoping you get customer satisfaction, but in this case, might be the internal people are very dissatisfied. And what you see is that we have all this chaos and not a lot of output. So what happens is leadership stops wanting to do management reviews, or you end up having a poor audit because you're not well prepared. And so those are the kind of things that are driving the change in technology that I'm participating in now. Had no idea before a year ago. But one database, one source of truth, no silos, everything is synced up, and a lot of closed loop automation versus kind of open loops. And we use the term down here, CQ, ComplianceQuest AI, because that's what's driving a lot, but there's a lot more than that. So what does it look like? Well, if you look at your organization, you've got a whole bunch of regulatory requirements, right? And you might be in aerospace or defense too, so that's why you might see some acronyms you might not feel with. So we do our best to understand the industry needs, the regulatory needs, and then we design products. We're very innovative. We have research, we have development, and we move through our cycle, right? And it moves through, and we do all the things we need to do with all these disconnected systems. And we have CDMOs all over the place, or manufacturing sites all over the place. And eventually the product gets to the customer, and we hope this whole thing is working really well. So I spent 35 years trying to get the quality management system in place in many organizations, focused on the customer, meeting the regulatory requirements, or in the fun industries where you don't have regulatory requirements, not meeting them. And the reality is, it's hard to get everything working on paper. There's a lot of training, a lot of education. You got a lot of processes that are manual. You got a lot of data devices like spreadsheets, which evolved to smart sheets, which evolved to digital systems and platforms. Still, and then you have all these new acronyms that we have out there, product lifecycle management. By the way, how many of you are involved in product lifecycle management? Where does it start and where does it end in your thinking? You would think it goes from the beginning to the end, birth to life, but a lot of people just focus it on the beginning, and they skip over everything and go to the end. So when I think about product life cycle, it's through that whole loop and then monitors it, until it dies. So depending on what you call a product life cycle management or MES system or QMS, they're defined in various different ways. And those different ways can confuse people, because if I said, hey, what is quality by design? We're doing quality by design. Well, what does it mean to you? Could mean something very different. And by the way, so this is our new system. A little bit better than the last one, right? Don't you see a little bit more technology being used in your company? You all have it as some kind of platform. It could even be QuickBooks, financial platform. But everybody has some kind of financial platform, right? And so ideally, leadership likes financial platforms. Manufacturing companies live on SAP, Oracle, like big platforms. And then, of course, there's the CRM platforms, which are all now fighting to be like ERP platforms. So you got Salesforce out there doing that. Microsoft is doing that. They're all competing to be your platform. And unfortunately, not one platform is a one-size-fits-all. That means everything else is not one-size-fits-all. But it's getting clearer. It's getting better. And you're getting better dashboards. You're getting better on-time delivery of information. And you're getting it more efficient than it was. And so one of the problems is going from, where you are, you got these regulatory roadblocks that also have to be met. One of the benefits of digitalizing a compliance system is meeting the regulatory side of the house versus the customer side of the house. What does the customer care about versus the regulatory authority? Right, and FDA really doesn't care about that, right? They want to know that stuff. And so there's another side that, these kind of prevent us from doing a good job of that. What else does the customer want, or the patient want, I should say, which is the customer? They're worried about harm. And what you say you're building, you build. What you say you're mixing, you mix, et cetera. The customer also wants it for availability, right? It's got to be available so I can get it. the physician needs to be able to have access to it. So those are different paths. And so I believe what's happening is that the FDA is mandating a future where all the regulatory side will be connected. You'll be connected like a supplier-customer relationship, and that audits will be done electronically by looking at your scorecards. Because this recent changes in that is forcing that. All the more reason why you've got to have a more efficient system. Here's another more simple way to look at most of your organizations. You have from ideation on the left, I asked you that question, where does the PLM start? And it kind of moves through. This is not complete, but just to give you a picture of, and then underneath it, we have a lot of detail, all those little steps that have to be done. And we could kind of break it up. So just think if we regulated ideation and innovation, would we get any? Probably not. So that's why I kind of keep it out there on the left. Most of the design stuff, whether it's coming through a CAD design or for research design, is the output that tends to start the product development process and then the product life cycle. And then we break it up into design and quality management, operations, supply chain. And you can see various systems that are trying to all connect. Are any of you involved in any of this connectivity? Either on the quality side, safety side, product development side? Because when you leave here, there's going to be a test. And by the way, if you want a copy of these, you could just have them, so you don't have to take too many pictures. So we have, one of the solutions is, how do you connect these things? Well, we have a product, like many of the people in our industry, they're trying to all connect the quality management systems to your product lifecycle system, to your suppliers. And so you can kind of see across the top how we do that. It's got product lifecycle, design quality, handling complaints, quality audits, supplier. And the more you link them up, the easier it is over time. And I'm going to say it's not easy starting, easier over time. Because even the simplest digital management systems are taking 120 to 180 days to a year to get them started and implementing in place. So, but I will tell you that the demand by leadership is there. And what do you think leadership's number one request is of buying a digital system? It's sad, but what's that? Even more refined than ROI. Well, they want audit ready, system ready. They want to know how many head counts I can remove, how many heads I can remove, sadly. That's how they're defining efficiency with a lot of technology today. And unfortunately, you need bodies to put things in place. And I listened to the AI discussion. AI doesn't ask itself its own questions yet. But so when you look at the complexity of what you're doing and the activities you need to do, there's quite a bit of stuff that needs to be connected. I will tell you, spending time teaching someone how to do a Pareto diagram or a frequency distribution or doing a designed experiment to identify the right requirements in the last 35 years is a lot of work compared to doing with the technology you have today. It's just amazing. Or when you look at the sensor capabilities of reading an simple X-ray or reading an MRI, the digital technologies are just phenomenal. It does things that a machine does things that we can't do. A robot does things we can't do. And now this does things that we can't do. The good thing is there's still stuff they can't do that we do. So I just want to go to here. So one of the things that everybody's talking about is, where is AI in the systems? One of the areas that I spend a lot of time in is management, dashboard, scorecards, and review. And I said earlier, they're always really not happy with it. And they're not happy with it because it's very hard to pull something together. So a lot of the AI that is going into these quality management systems are when you enter information. You enter a record, if you enter a customer complaint, if you enter a documentation related to policy procedure, when you enter it, is it right the first time? And so there's ways to check that work with intelligence. And so it gives you you can review it, assess it, gives you a score, gives you some feedback. Kind of like spell check. Spell check tells you which words are spelled wrong and gives you some choices. And it's not really intelligent, just comparing it to a dictionary. This is actually reviewing what's good over and over again to what's been good and what is a rubric, and tells you how you're doing. And if every record is implemented better, and it's all digital, then you're always ready, your scorecard's always accurate for that day, that hour, that minute. And therefore, your system is always audit ready. That's the kind of goal that we're trying to get to. And so, if you look even further at the little agents, we're seeing them in a lot of places. But sadly, they live on data, right? So if you've got a lot of your documents in spreadsheets that are sitting in a disconnected system or in paper in a filing cabinet, it doesn't help you. So that's why I said over time, you're feeding this beast with digital information that it can consume. The LLMs out there they're feeding it with information from all over the place. In your system, it's confined. Our system is built on a Salesforce platform. They've got like 6,000 people designing agents every day. So we get the benefit of that, and it's kind of nice. Most organizations are struggling to create these agents because they got to pay someone to do them, but they are rapidly doing it. So I'm trying to keep us moving. The future's here. Cost less compliance, and your system's always audit ready. Those are the three things that, if I go the other way, 5 years ago, I gave a presentation in Europe on the subject of AI and smart manufacturing, and I thought I was smart, and for 2 or 3 years, I looked pretty good. Last June, I gave one, and I had to completely change it. I gave that same one from June. I did it in September, changed again. The speed is like incredible, and at my age, speed is something, you want to slow down, but got to kind of keep up. So with that, I want to just pop it open for questions. And I've got a few more of these gadgets here that I didn't give out to somebody who answered the right question. So